What questions should you never ask at the end of a job interview? Given that you're not a skilled interviewer, where do you see yourself in 2 years? Is the nearest elementary school at least 500 yards away? I can't be the only one who felt this connection. I still have 20 minutes left on my meter, so how about a quickie? Do you do a drug test occasionally? Asking for a friend. Can I borrow some money? Interestingly enough, I had to do this once after a taxi driver in China cheated me. And I got the job. Can I please have my resume back? It's my only copy. Is the company run by, Whispers Jews? So, can I get a ride home? It wasn't so much a question, but decided not to hire a bright young man who had a promising legal career after he aced the interview. We have a very attractive secretary who takes pride in her appearance and does wear tight but professional skirts. She walks by and the guy goes, "Nuiki." Mostly to himself but loud enough it was audible to me. If you're interviewing for a front office position with a sports franchise, do not ask if you'll get to meet the players. This is a huge red flag and makes you look like your goal is not the job, but the bragging rights and name dropping. When you say never convicted of a crime, you mean in this country, right? The sexual harassment policy is just a suggestion tight. So, do you guys inventory like, often? Or is it more of a once in a while thing, or like, an almost never thing? Can I get an advance on my first paycheck? I've got some debts that need to be paid by Friday. No. Okay, well, how quickly does that healthcare coverage start? So whose dick will I have to suck to get a promotion? You look familiar. What city were you born in? Maybe. What was your mother's maiden name? Okay, that does sound familiar. Oh, you had that pet. What was the first pet you had? Right, and you drove it everywhere. What was that first car you had? Hey, great catching up. I think I have everything I need. Fresh out of high school, I was in a group interview for being a liftie at my local ski hill. I totally forgot I applied for the job and didn't know what position the interview was for until I got there. I was a diehard park skier at the time and spent all winter at the hill, so I was very comfortable to say the least. Besides answering some of their questions like an idiot. Q. Why do you want to be a liftie? Me. I already hang out here all winter, so I figure I might as well get paid for it. I asked them near the end of the interview, if I get hired, can I choose what lift I can work on? All my friends are in the terrain park, so I want to work on the park chair and not end up at the south end with all the beginner skiers. For some reason they did end up hiring me, only to fire me 3 weeks into the season due to me not fitting their image. I totally get why they fired me. What I don't understand is why the hell they decided to hire me in the first place. I think at one point in the interview I said I look up to my stepbrother because he has a hot girlfriend. Do you check your employees' lockers? Do you do random drug testing? Do you have any hotties working here? Are you single? Actual question from a candidate. Oprah, Barbara Walters, your wife, you gotta fuck one, marry one, kill one, go. What's your spaghetti policy? Are the managers here a bunch of heartless cunts? Where the white women at? Is it okay to blow your boss to get a raise? How would you like to make your own hours, have unlimited earning potential, and get to represent a product that practically sells itself? I just need 30 minutes of your time and $200 to get you started today. What do you say? Will I be able to leave earlier when the time changes to get home before dark? My mom doesn't want me in the city then. This was asked by a guy my old office was interviewing for a job. He was in his mid-20s. Are your security guards armed? Is it okay if I wear my Nambla shirt to work on casual Fridays? Female co-worker of mine who is an expert-level firmware engineer interviewed a guy just this week for an entry-level firmware position, and at the end of the interview, which was by phone, by the way, he asked, just between you and me, Do you think we could get coffee or dinner sometime? Solid no, my dude. That's how you completely disqualify yourself from getting hired. Did you just fart? Sue about that harassment policy. Once had an applicant ask, so can I have your job instead? Oh bitch no, you don't want this job. I don't even want my job. This company isn't one of those progressive ones, right? Why are you getting naked? Interviewer, what's this 4-year gap on your resume? Applicant, that's when I was in Yale. Interviewer, oh, Yale. Wow. You're hired. Applicant, thanks so much. I really needed this job. In the case of Amazon, they hate it when you ask about their healthcare provisions, and whether they tag employees, and if drinking water is readily available, and if the job is unionized. My brother asked at the end of an interview, instead of being promoted, if I do a good job can I have my schedule reduced? Big surprise, they said no and ended the, otherwise good, interview. I struggled to explain to him how terrible of a light this cast him in. Do you mind if I read Mein Kampf during working hours? Does the hot secretary take it up the ass? Can I buy a cigarette off you? So what's this place's policy on Nazis? Oh, I almost forgot to ask, you guys don't hire Jews or blacks, do you? Don't ask back the same questions that were said to you. We had a girl come in to interview and they asked her the typical "what are your strengths and weaknesses" question. Instead of answering, she redirected the question back and asked us what ours were. This is about your existential crisis during the interview, girl, not mine. Are you on your period? It smells like a fish cannery in here. From experience, when do you think you are going to make a decision? Because I owe $8,000 on a car I totaled and really gotta start making payments, plus I don't really like my job. Probably should have stopped at when are you gonna make a decision. Did somebody forget the serious tag? Interpret as needed. What's the sitch? All I could think about was Kim Possible when I read the first 3 words. You guys hire convicts, right? So, where are the best places on site for a quickie if, you know, I meet someone here? What's your policy on Columbus Day? Bad, do you, drug test here, looking around nervously. Worse, do you test for, drug of choice? Correct, in my previous positions I've had to submit a urinalysis upon my hire. I don't see it mentioned in the handbook. What is the company policy on screening of new hires so that I can know what to expect if I were to be offered the position? Almost 40 years ago I interviewed for a job at a new Hardee's opening in my hometown. After the interview, I bummed a cigarette from the guy. He looked at me funny, but gave me the smoke and I still got the job. Then again, I don't think they turned away anyone for that job. Unzips pants / Yes or no? How much you paying me? Can I cook fish in the microwave? You sure you won't leak it? Is your daughter single? Pointing at the picture of your interviewer's wife on his desk. So who's the cunt? So, am I your man, Mr. Dumbass? What's your home address? So did I get the job? Do you guys have any surveillance cameras around? How flexible is your sexual harassment policy? What's your least favorite part / the worst part about working here / about company? Yeesh. I get why people ask it, but it makes you look like an asshole. You're essentially asking them to crap on their co-workers, their managers, or at best, the people who write their checks. If you really want to ask this question, you ask it like this. What's one thing you'd want to improve about company? This question gives them the chance not to talk about specific people. Implies that you are interested in helping improve company. Is generally something that people have lots of thoughts on, so it gets them talking. Even then, this question can be taken the wrong way, so I don't really recommend it, but YMMV. Anything that sounds like you got it off a list of questions to ask in an interview on Google. Seriously, I interview people and so many of them only ask me standard questions like how do you like the culture, etc. You want some advice? Take literally 5 minutes and go to the company website. There will be recent news posted. Pick one article to skim and ask about it. Hey, I saw that your company recently merged with ABC company. How do you think that will impact this department? Try to stand out. Is Pornhub banned here? Oh, do you guys employ Mexicans? Because I don't get along very well with wetbacks. Gee, I wonder why. I live in Arizona. Every business has Hispanic and / or Latino employees. I can see why asking about drug tests reflects badly, but I think it should be accepted or even advertised on the listing that you will be tested. I'm against the whole idea of random testing, because everyone knows you can be sober and still fail from a joint last week. I think employers should respect privacy, and if they don't, well, I don't want to work there. Drug tests should only be done on suspicion of not being sober during work hours or if it's suspected that it's affecting you on the job. What happens outside of work hours is nobody else's business but mine. Where are the fine-ass bitches at? Tell them Frank Castle is here. I am gonna punish the pussy. I think this went well. When's our second date? This place isn't within X distance of a school, is it? 'Cause that wouldn't work, legal thing. Do you have any naked pictures of your wife? No. Would you like to see some? Excuse me, the room seems to stretch. You feel yourself launched, spinning towards the chair in front of you, and you see the interviewee whiz past you into your chair. You look around asking what just occurred, but you know exactly what happened. Well, since you have no more questions, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, the interviewee said. Had a bad interview yesterday where the interviewer couldn't form coherent questions. Should have asked this at the end. A few years ago I had an interview with one of the biggest douchebag I ever met. I get it that my skill may be not up to par with his standards, but he was a total dick about it. He left the interview and told the HR person to continue with the interview. The final question was, like most interviews, whether I had any questions, and my reply was, will I be working with him? The HR person's reply was, unfortunately, yes. That is a horrible question. It really shows that they didn't do their research when applying. /heavy breathing /. Two co-workers / friends and I were in a bit of a competition to see who could get off a sinking ship first. One guy had a pretty solid chance lined up, just down to the references. We warned him that if they called us for his references, we would ask if they were located near a school, and if so, that they should make sure exactly how far away the school was. He still got off the ship first. Depending on if the job is religious or not, it might just be what gets you the job. Hired. Efficient. Hates speed bumps and speed zones. This could actually be a problem, as my office is literally next door to an elementary school. I guess that means there are no pedos in the office though. Oddly, it was a group interview. Oh, you had the job till you spelled quickie wrong. Sorry, thank you for your time. You said I'd be conducting the interview when I walked in. Now exactly how much pot did you smoke? One of my friends asked that, and followed it up with, out of curiosity, what brand and type of test do you guys use? Interviewer caught on that he was going to look up ways to fool the test immediately, and the interview ended on the spot. That's only a bad question if the answer is not actually an important consideration for whether you'd take the job. That's a fair question though. Especially if you're in a legal state for weed and not sure if the job is okay with it. Do you do a drug test occasionally? LPT, get the name of some random drug test company on the internet. Not a local company. Call into the HR department, from a different phone number that you have on your resume of course, and tell them you work for XYZ employment background check company and provide on-site drug testing for businesses, and ask them if they have considered pre-employment drug testing before. Mostly likely they will tell you they are already doing it or are not interested in doing it. A little social engineering and HR will let you know a bit about their policies. It works. As a medical marijuana card holder who is currently looking for a job, this is the most awkward question ever. And it's my medication that I'm legally allowed to have, just not allowed to have a job also. Our official drug policy. If the boss can tell you're under the influence, you fucked up. Weed so good it got an A and on the sats. I asked my now current employer straight up if they drug tested. I also outright told them it's because I had smoked weed like a week prior and would not pass. Granted, I was 1. Getting rehired to place with which I already had a rapport. 2. Fairly certain they didn't drug test anyway and was mostly just making sure. Then that's when my now boss told me he smokes weed too, so it was no big deal LMAO. Wait, story please. This is like when the dude casually mentioned his cum box. Edit, gentlemen/ladies. Don't dig deeper into cum box unless you're the type of person that can deal with cum box without question. No, sir, I have no experience, but I'm a big fan of money. I like it, I use it, I have a little. I keep it in a jar on top of my refrigerator. I'd like to put more in that jar. That's where you come in. That's where I keep my best chili recipes. I got this one once, but the candidate didn't bring a copy. I printed one off for my reference and he asked if he could have it because he has another interview later on that day. Oh hi Nate. Or should I call you J-Rock? I laughed way harder at this than I should have. Oh no, not the Whispers Jews. Sneaky way to do it. Is your office closed on Yom Kippur? Gotta make sure I'm the token Jew at the office. Otherwise I have to fight the other Jews for control and it's just not worth it tbh. It's not. Well, then I quit. Yeah, I've actually had this question in an interview. I was interviewing a person for Tier 1 help desk 12 years ago. The guy was a few minutes late, no biggie. He had just about every certification under the sun and he brought proof. He was wicked smart. But he didn't have a car and was taking the bus. However, the job required you to have a car as we had multiple locations. After I interviewed him, I talked to my boss and she didn't want to hire him, but it was ultimately up to me. I thought it over and I hired the guy, best employee I ever had. I picked him up and dropped him off and let him use my car to go off-site for about a month, and then he bought a cheap car. He was 20 years old and was poor and just needed someone to give him a chance, so I did. He is awesome and is now a Tier 3 tech and owns his own house and is married. Can you Venmo me $20 for an Uber? Funny enough, on one of our candidates' interview schedules it said call an Uber for candidate.
Thank you for watching. We publish amazing Reddit stories every day. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to keep the dog smiling.